Welcome to Created Healthy. I'm Dawn Combs. It's a common idea that God gave us everything we need in nature, but do we believe it enough to walk that out in truth? Often the very same people who say this go looking for answers on how to use food and medicine from man-made sources. Everything man creates comes with a user's manual. Why would God be any different? I challenge you to join me in seeking revelation about our body, mind, soul, and spirit health by digging into His written word and in practicing pure science in the visible world of His creation.
I'm sure you've heard the expression, if you love something, turn it free, and if it comes back to you, it's yours. Today I'm thinking kind of a different way of looking at that saying in light of David and his horrendous track record with women. If you love something and God sets it free, maybe you shouldn't try really hard to get it back. So I'm in 2 Samuel 1-4, and this is where David hears that Saul and Jonathan have been killed. And I have suggested in the past few podcasts the notion that perhaps David has set things in motion that have to be as a result of his choices that weren't necessarily God's plan. I do think it's very possible that Jonathan was never meant to pay that price for David and was meant to be that God had other plans for him. He was a righteous guy, and I don't think that he paid an ultimate price. I feel like he was welcomed into God's kingdom when that was appropriate. But I think that here we have David, we have David here mourning Saul and Jonathan as people who he really, really loved deeply. And we have this moment where an Amalekite who had basically been a grave robber had gone over the scene and had been around long enough to know what happened at the end of Saul's life, enough to, when he found Saul, he took the crown, he took a bracelet, and realized that maybe he could get even more. Maybe he could get more if he took it to David and said that he was the one who had put Saul out of his misery when he had asked to be killed. It doesn't go well for him because David has him put to death. He knows immediately that who this person is. He's a grave robber. He's telling a lie, and David puts him to death for that lie, and writes this beautiful song of mourning for Saul and Jonathan. At this point, David begins to act like a king. He asks God where and when to go. And at this point he has 2 wives, and they go to Judah, and he is anointed there as the king over Judah. Unfortunately, because of his choices, the kingdom of Israel is now split. Because David didn't step up when he should have, when he had the opportunity to, as I explored earlier. Now we have this power vacuum when Saul dies. The conquering Philistines did not take over the kingdom, so the chief, the general in charge of the army appoints what would be logical. It should have been Jonathan who would have taken on the role of succession from Saul, but Jonathan is killed, so the general appoints Ishbosheth, who is also a son of Saul. And Ishbosheth isn't a bad guy, but now he's thrown into kingship because nobody knows about David. David's just out there. He's got some people that know that he was anointed king, and Samuel's dead, so he hasn't stepped up and made his claim for what God has ordained. So David rules in Judah, and Ishbosheth rules the rest of Israel, and they finally kind of understand that they've got to figure this out, because there's 2 kings over parts of Israel, and so more men have to die. They have Abner and Joab, their two respective generals, come and meet, and more men fight and die. David's team wins, and Abner goes back, and Ishbosheth is kind of jealous, and he's upset, and he accuses him of sleeping with one of Saul's concubines, and Abner gets mad, and he's like, that's it, I'm going to go help David. So he approaches David, and David says, absolutely, I'll take your help, but I'm only going to believe you, and I'm only going to entertain you coming to visit me and keep you safe if you bring me my old wife, Michal. Michal, we met back in 1 Samuel. I should have looked that up before I started talking today, but Michal was David's first wife that he got. She is Saul's daughter. And when he ran from Saul at one point, I didn't talk about it then, but when he ran, she helped him. She was loyal to David, but there was this part of the passage that really stood out to me. She lowered him from the window, but then to fool her father, it says she put the household idols into the bed. And Saul, of course, whips back the blankets and discovers that it's the idols and not David when he goes to kill him. And he's really mad at Michal. But that really stuck out to me, that she put the household idols in the bed. So that's saying that there were household idols in David's home. And after David flees, Saul marries Michal to another person. So effectively, David's gone. He's running around. He marries other people. Michal is married off, and she's taken care of. So David doesn't really have a responsibility to her, but he seems to be sort of caught in her web. He's still thinking about her. The wives that he keeps marrying, which now he's up to 6, we're told in this passage that he's got a son by each wife. That's not going to cause foreshadowing, that's not going to cause a problem at all for who takes over the kingdom next. He just doesn't seem to be able to be satisfied. He's missing something. There's been a hurt in losing that first wife, but she wasn't good for him. The fact that she was either interested in the household idols because she was holding on to her place in society and her succession as a daughter of the king, or she was holding on to the household idols because she was worshiping them, that's a real problem for who David is intending to be. And I would put it forth for consideration that God allowed for that moment to happen because David needed to be away from Michal. But here we are, bringing Michal back into his life. And we're going to see in reading tomorrow in 2 Samuel 5-8, she kind of shows who she really is. Because when David does finally, there's an issue with the Ark of the Covenant, and he leaves it in a home for a while, and then when he goes to retrieve it and bring it, he dances in front of it. As a ruler, he debases himself. He is not dressed in his finery. He is dancing along, sort of making a fool out of himself in front of this caravan of moving the ark, and really making an issue of, I'm not high and mighty, but God, who is in the ark behind me, is. I am lowly. I am not enough. And when he gets back, they successfully bring the ark back. Michal is furious. She's furious that he would debase himself because she wants to be married to the next king. Her father was king. She's used to living in that household. She's used to what that privilege and that power is about. And she's furious that David has, in front of all of his people, shown himself to not be high and mighty, sacrificing that power and that position. And she is actually then, God closes her womb as a result, and she does not have any children with David as a result of her behavior and who she is at her core. But I look at that kind of together and think, wow, like God really did not want her influence on David. She was a potential stumbling block, and it was just as well for her to be out of the way without harming her. God made sure that she was taken care of. She wasn't horrifically punished, but then David's got to bring her back in of his own will. And we see a lot of his own will surrounding how he deals with women. It is problematic. God's ordination is one woman and one man, and David exceeds his take here. He goes way over the one man and one woman, and it's going to cause a lot of problems for him. But I think that there's a lesson here for us that no matter how it may hurt us in the moment, we need to be able to look at God as a benevolent, having our best in mind figure in our lives. And when we lose something that we think is really precious, we really do have to let it go. We have to take it to God. Because if it's a momentary loss and God has a plan for that item or that person or that opportunity to come back into our lives, He will make it so. We will continue, if we continue to walk faithfully on His path and perform His will and seek His heart, we will find that opportunity or that person on the path in front of us at another turn where maybe they're more ready and He's been working on their heart, or where maybe we're more ready, but striving after the thing that we lost because of our own will, because of our own hurt, because we can't let something go, or we allow ourselves to remain focused on it instead of on the path in front of us. We pervert what it is that God actually was trying to do, and we take away the chance that we're about to have a better blessing. Or I think in David's case, pining for the loss of Michal might have sent him on paths that he wasn't supposed to be on, and it could have prolonged his suffering. He could have missed a lot of really cool opportunities. It's really important that we learn to let go when something appears to be moving out of our sphere, and we must focus on the fact that as long as we are doing God's will, as long as we are on His path, then it is part of the plan, and it will either right itself or there is a better opportunity that is coming. I pray that God is blessing you today, and that your path is finding many of those things that you thought you had lost. It is a blessing to rediscover something that you thought you had lost, and to be part of that that miracle of being able to see, oh, that's what God was doing. That's why I lost this then. I gained something and I didn't realize it. If we don't let go, we never get to see that miracle. We never get to experience it or be part of it. And what an awful fate that is, to never experience those. I pray that you are seeing those little miracles of God working in your life and on your path everywhere. And I pray that your path brings you back to study with me again on another day. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share with a friend. And I'm always interested in hearing what God is laying on your heart. So drop me a rating or review, or join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at Dawn Combs Really.